got a comment in the first hour that somebody said they thought that Maryland is better than Michigan State. Do you believe that?
I think they're pretty comparable, like as far as the challenge goes. I think Aiden Childs, famous last words, but I give a little more props to Aiden Childs just because he's a little bit older quarterback than Malik Washington. So I'd probably give a slight edge to Michigan State. But, I know the matchup everybody's locked in on for fair reason. Maryland doesn't have the hardest schedule in the non-con, but they do have 19 sacks to their name, and that D-line, even though there's some freshmen on it, they get after you. And, you heard Holgerson yesterday say, it's pretty dang impressive for those freshmen to be doing it at the level they are already. And so Nebraska's viewing it as a challenge. They should, after giving up 12 sacks the last two games, and that's sort of the strength of the other side. And so obviously that's going to be the key component. We kind of all circle and see how that goes.
BC, the most Nebraska thing ever would be, since you gave up 5 sacks to a team that came in with 3 all year, wouldn't it make sense that you don't give up any to a team that is one of the tops in the conference in sacking the quarterback? I mean, that would be pretty Nebraskan.
Yeah, football's funny that way. And, I think, too, there's a lot of guys who have a lot of pride this week, probably, where they looked at the film, because not only are those sacks destructive for the obvious reasons, but when you listen to Holgerson and guys talk through that game against Michigan State, there were touchdowns to be had probably on 1 or 2 of those plays where you have a breakdown. And so you can imagine you're sitting in the film room watching where you had your mishap or your problem play of the day, and you see a guy flying wide open, and that would have probably been 6 points. That probably adds a little weight to it, and you get after it a little bit this week. So, you hope that group takes a step. Obviously, it was their first game with Pritchett on the left and Gatula on the right, and you're working through that. And I do think they're not yanking everybody's chain with the fact everybody's got their part in it. Ball's got to come out a little quicker sometimes. Receivers got to get open a little bit quicker at times, and obviously there's been breakdowns on the line, but also occasionally a running back on some of those. So it is one of those deals where everybody can share in the blame a little bit.
Let me ask you something, BC. Playing that clip, and you and I have joked about this off air and on air, because I love his delivery. I love his mannerisms. I think he's super competitive. Jessica was insanely close to him during the sidelines Saturday, so I could hear almost every word Butler was saying. He said, he says things like, you got to pack your defense and can't wait, and it's a business trip, and wherever it is we're practicing, we're going to bring our he's not one of you leave conversations with him and exactly what he's thinking, man. Is it just me, or does he ooze intensity?
Yeah, he does. I mean, he comes in there into the media room like he's ready for a couple more reps.
Yeah.
Like, he kind of just comes in on fire. I actually, the funniest part was when he's like, anybody got some Sorsby stats for me this week?
Yeah. That was very funny.
Or how about when he dropped the easiest picks ever for Singleton?
That was really funny.
That's just how he is.
Yeah. He's not wrong, too. I mean, he says the stuff people don't say, but that's how Conference Player of the Week awards get settled. Sorry if you're hearing ambulance sirens behind me.
Okay.
I'm downtown, and
they're on their way to come see Ravi because they know he's on the verge.
What'd I do?
I think they're gone now. Yeah, I think they're gone, so we're good.
Isn't it wild though? It's like, and I don't think this is a hot take, and I asked, I speak in Nebraska City every week. I had to go yesterday because we're leaving tomorrow. And I was just asking to rank the coordinators so far. We really couldn't come to a consensus. Ravi and I didn't agree. You could make cases either way.
Well, we all agree on number one.
Although I did say I would not fight you over if you made Butler one in terms of coordinator because he had the furthest to go in terms of degree of difficulty. Like it was, Coach Eckler has done a fantastic job. Hear my heart. But they were so bad, anything would have been noticeable. We thought Tony White was pretty good, and he had a much younger defense that he was dealing with in the front seven. So I think it was harder for Butler, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
It makes complete sense. He had the toughest job to,
and he didn't get the benefit of the doubt like Coach Eckler and Coach Holgerson did. He came in literally like, prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it shows you how dramatically too narratives can flip, and they could flip again this Saturday if you don't go out and play well.
Exactly.
That because think about around here 2 or 3 weeks ago, the talk would have been like, man, they missed Tony. Tony did this and that, and I like Tony White, by the way. This isn't a jab at Tony White, but obviously he's got some things he's got to work out now at Florida State. They've had some tough weeks. On the other end, John Butler's got this crew rising. I walked out of that Michigan State game, and after you took a couple trips around your neighborhood with the dog and walked the dog and thought about it, I was like, as tough as that game was for Husker fans while they were in it and the roller coaster of emotions they felt, they had to, when you step back, say, you know what? They won by double digits, and one of the biggest questions that everybody's been banging the drum on for a full month got a good answer, or a good response at least, for this week with that run defense and the way that defensive line played and how they used that bye week to improve themselves. That was really impressive, because there were probably people who rolled their eyes when they heard, like, oh, they went good on good that Tuesday and Wednesday of the bye week. Like, wait, is that actually going to translate? You know how that goes over here. They're the best practices ever type of thing. People don't like it. They just don't even want to hear it anymore. But you saw there was a transfer there of that work they got done in the off week. They did not kick their feet up on the ottoman. They got to business, and it showed in the way they played. And I think you're seeing guys develop. Guys are developing who are at different stages in their career, which is really encouraging. Like Williams Nwaneri is an obvious one. Like, I go back to the spring or summer, I didn't know if he was just going to be a niche guy this year, where maybe he plays 20 snaps. And now he's playing 50 plus snaps and he's playing really well. And then there's like a guy like Elijah Judy, who's at the tail end of his career. And the last couple games, even Michigan, played really well, I think, and has taken a step, and you can see he's just a more confident guy. So they're getting that development from different age brackets, which is really good to see.
How about a couple of veterans, but in different kind of roles, where you get a guy like Javen Wright, who had a fantastic game after he wanted to make amends for how he felt he played against Michigan, still at 7 career starts, or 8, which is a ridiculously low number for a guy that's been in the program, versus a guy like Dasan McCullough, who's been around a quality program, but doing and playing an entirely different role. So how about the development with those two guys, even though they've been around the college game for a while, but at different stages, but you can see their incremental growth as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good that you pointed out Javen's inexperience within being experienced.
Yeah.
Like, he's been around
matters.
forever. Yeah, he's been around for 7 years, but there's been all those injuries, and he sort of switched over here and then over there, and he's been all over the place. And I think early in the season, we weren't seeing quite the best of him. He was still kind of getting his feet at that position and, like, how to maximize it. And it was clear from the jump out of the blocks this Saturday that he was ready to ball out. Like, when he hurdled that guy, and I think he got a half sack on that one, but he definitely, like, got the ball rolling to make that play. And I felt like that was a tone setter from the start. For Aiden Childs knew it too. Like, right after that
he's
play,
like, poop.
Yeah, it's like these dudes got that look in their eyes today. They're coming after me. And you're right about McCullough, who I think has to be one of the first 1 or 2 names an offensive coordinator from the other side puts on his board every week, just because the way he can dance around, they use him in all these different spots. It's some some points he said how he was spying Aiden Childs, and he's just so explosive that I feel like he's just an inch away from making that play that's going to turn one of these games. Maybe it's this week. I think he's going to make a play in the next couple of weeks where he forces a fumble, someone picks it up, that sort of thing. He's closing in on that.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not ever going to apologize for staying in the moment, and and I realize, listen, it could go south in a hurry at College Park, but just I don't allow myself to really think like that, just because there's a couple things Nebraska fans ask for, right? Be competent, and they look like a competent team. The penalties are down. The discipline is better. They're starting to win one-score games, or close games. So we're getting over that whole narrative and stigma. The special teams is better. Like, they're doing the things that the team is doing things that this fan base has long asked for them to do. Do you think there'll come a point, and maybe it's a signature win? I don't know what that is in the Big Ten anymore since weeks are so hard. But do you think there's a point where we'll get over the fact that they're not going to be perfect, but they are getting better? Where we will, like, is that too much, or what do you think?
Yeah, I
think once we get over that, I think we'll appreciate what's actually happening. Like, you'll look at a guy like Shavers and you'll say, holy smokes, this guy is actually learning to play 3 downs.
Yeah.
First and 10, second and medium, third and shorts, third, like give these guys, like, I think we will be we'll be encouraged as opposed to picking it apart.
I think what you're asking for can happen if they go on the road these next 2 weeks, and I know for them it's one at a time. That's totally the way they should be. I love the fact that Dylan Ryle sort of was like, Minnesota's after Maryland, right? He did, he was making a point. I think, like, it's all about Maryland right now. But for the fans and those on the outside, I think if they were to go away from Lincoln these next 2 weeks and pick up a couple of, I would say, quality wins, especially with that Minnesota bugaboo, how that series has gone the last 5 years or whatever. I think that would be a point where some people would start to maybe step back who are always like, I'm not satisfied yet, and say, you know what, there are imperfections, but if they get to that 6-1 mark and then are coming home, I think you would see maybe a change in how some people are talking about this squad. So they've got an opportunity to do that, which is awesome. And that's what getting the job done Saturday set up. I just think it's harder, for some around here to adjust to sort of the NFL light mindset that is college football now. Like, when you watch your favorite NFL team on a Sunday, you're going to take a 3-hour roller coaster ride. It's probably going to be a 1-score game. And then by the end of it, if you win, you're usually happy, and you can step away from the little missteps here and there and just say that we got the win. It's on to the next week. I think with college football, I'm sure it's not just here because it's changed over the years. I think sometimes people have a hard time getting past whatever their thought was in a negative moment, like in the third quarter or something when the game wasn't going well, to like step away from that narrative and say, actually, that they got it done. They got the double-digit win. We took a big step with the run defensive stuff. And so I do think that's where I say walk the dog around the neighborhood a couple times and spin some thoughts about like what that game actually did for a team if they win, and maybe some of the negative stuff you had in the middle quarters, you're able to release that and move on to the next week.
BC, it sounds like I asked DB this yesterday. I go, if Nebraska fans were legally required to watch the game again on Sunday, knowing how it plays out, how much differently do you think the conversations would be?
Yeah, that's a good point, Ravi. I mean, I think a lot, and I'm not saying I'm not saying for people to not like have like tough critiques here.
Right.
This has to improve. Like, we all get that, but there has to be an adoption of the truth that there is parity in this Big Ten conference. I mean, and throughout the power conferences, and you also have to understand that sometimes early in the season, you might get a win that you didn't think was as good a win, and it turns out it's better than you thought, or vice versa.
Hey, anybody
like
checked on
Cincinnati,
Sorsby stats lately?
yeah, like Cincinnati's turned out that way. So I think we just got to keep in mind, like especially early, or at least the first half of the year, you don't know it all, not only about your own team, but about the other team, and like exactly what they have or what they don't have, and you kind of watch it play out, and then by the end of October, early November, you maybe have a better sense of what really happened and some of that stuff. But it's a good point. Like if people have time to watch at least the 60-minute version of the game on Sunday, I'm not saying to get away from your family just to do that, but if you need an excuse, I would say go do it.
BC here for family breakups. B, let me ask you something. You kind of know my personality, so just give me a little leeway here. I talk a lot about the connection between and the unity of kind of the message between the athletic departments, its coaches, Coach Rhule in particular, since we're talking about football, and being malleable. Remember, I talked about the House committee rules, the administration and Coach Rhule, they just rolled with it. He didn't know the scholarship limits, didn't matter. The coaching staff, the athletic department, they just kind of rolled with it. You look at Coach Eckler and his energy and what was going on during the course of the game. A lot of the players behind the scenes said, that's a total Coach Eck kind of game where, the guy never has a bad day. He stays in the moment. How much do you think we're seeing the fact that they're so no nonsense, they don't do a ton of complaining, they just attack the day, is starting to permeate into this team in terms of it doesn't matter how it goes in the moment. Like they're just going to show up every week. That message is modeled for them be on a multitude of levels darn near every day, and it starts with their athletic director and head coach. They just don't complain.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think they have a higher percentage, you would know better than I, but of players that are sort of like-minded to them off the jump. Like they just have that sort of I say this all the time, I repeat myself. There's a lot of people that make it to college football that are good at football, but there's only a certain percentage that actually just love it. Like they want to study it all the time and learn about it and get better at the intricacies of it. And I think they've got a pretty large group that is like that wants the details and wants to just go to work and get inside of it a little bit, like chop it up, like, okay, this is why this worked, this is why this didn't, see, this is why this can work going forward. And I think one of the best examples of that was hearing how everybody was talking about the Jameer Khan pump block. Like it was like everybody in the building last week knew that was going to happen.
Yep.
Like they're whispering to each other, like this is going to happen. I thought Rhule's story was funny about Satterfield, up on the balcony with them or whatever, saying like, no, you see what's going to happen is Michigan State's going to do this. We're going to maneuver with this. They're going to do that. And then boom, Khan's going to block it. And so point being, like even the people who aren't like directly involved, in certain parts of the special teams are just like dialed into that idea. And like, this is going to be a difference maker for the squad. And everybody gets excited about that, even if it's not the thing that they own directly. Because they do own it actually.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the thing that I sense about this team, which is why you want them to have success too, because you like those teams that put in the work, that are really like devoted to that process to get a reward. And I think this squad is like that. And that now you just got to have those detail items play out on Saturdays and make it pay off for you. But I think they're in the right direction for sure with that.
It's even little things, B. And I think this is kind of where part of the point. So I got to tell you where this is coming from is, once Coach Dannon usually comes and checks on me or comes in the booth, hey, how you doing? And so I found myself, and it's because I didn't want to do it, right? So let me preface this. I'm not pumped about leaving tomorrow, right? It's, it's 2 days out of your bed, whatever. It's a late start. It wasn't what Nebraska thought the past 6 months, right? The whole nine. And so I'm making leading statements. Like I'm kind of bitching and moaning a little bit. It's like, this. And he goes, here's the deal. This is what happened. Michigan State's homecoming game, the television window. Because I'm not so much been out of shape about, the extra night. That's neither here nor there. And he looks at me and he's kind of like, we're gonna be okay. We'll move on because the process was sound. We didn't get the outcome we wanted, but the process in terms of how we were thinking, like we can't apologize for. It just is what it is. And immediately I was like, that's just always how you're gonna be, isn't it? Like you're just not gonna revel in what isn't. You're just gonna keep trying to find what is. And if you're not like that, they don't want you around. That you can't be around those guys. It's crazy how it's top to bottom.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, I appreciate that since Rhule has been here. You said it really well. I think it is more from the head coach than I've heard of any coach I've covered about what is in front of them, what they can control instead of what you can't, or complaining about the things that some would see as obstacles. You don't hear that as much from Rhule and this staff, I think, as some others I've covered. There used to be I don't want to go all into the past, but there used to be this discussion about recruiting and how tough it was to get kids here and all this stuff, like in some staffs. And I didn't like it at a certain point. It's like it is, the situation is what it is. Like you make the most of it. And okay, this is the roadmap. We're going to travel there the best we can and have success with it. And I do think that's a mindset that Troy Dannon seems to have, and that's a big deal when you have that at the top, because it does, as you say, it goes all the way down. And that's a strong coaching community, I sense too.
Yeah.
Like all those Husker coaches are very tied in together in the different sports and ask each other for advice, like what worked for them, what didn't. And I think that's probably not something that's at every school. So there's a lot of sunshine pumping from me on this segment, but I mean, it is
what it is, though, right?
They have a lot. Rhule said the other day, you guys can be positive. It's fine. So I do think they've got momentum, and now it's like, make the most of it. Don't let it slip. But I think they've got something tracking, and this is an important week. I said it a week or two ago on the show. Like October was the month. When I saw this 25 schedule, it's like, here it is.
They're going to make hay.
With this. Yeah, go do it. And so this is a big game to back up what you got done last Saturday.
Certified Sunshine Pumper Brian Christopherson from Husker247. I think that's a good new title for you.
I don't know if I want that.
Okay.
But you could be called worse things, I suppose.
We enjoy the positivity, taking a page out of Coach Rhule's book and being positive. We like it.